It's been a long time for boys basketball at Thomas Jefferson High School. Over the weekend, the Orange Wave blew by Abraham Lincoln High 90-61 at Madison Square Garden. 62 years in the making, and finally, another PSAL City Championship banner will be hanging from the rafters at Jefferson Gymnasium. Joining me to talk more about this is the hardest working man in sports journalism, Elio Velez of MSGVarsity.com. Welcome, Elio.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Man, 62 years, that's a long time, right? Dwight D. Eisenhower was the president back then, 1954.
The New York Giants won with Willie Mays won the 1954 World Series. The year before, the Brooklyn Dodgers won the World Series, so that's a long time.
That was also the Gifford, too, right? The
Absolutely,
Gifford?
man, a long time, man. And it was a lot of weight, a lot of burden on Jefferson and Coach Bud Pollard. 62 years, seeing Lincoln, seeing boys and girls, seeing all those other Brooklyn teams winning it. And he finally got it.
And coming so close, but yet so far.
Absolutely. 3 times he's gotten to the game, and he's lost to Lincoln and boys and girls. And 2 years ago at the Barclays Center, he lost by 1 point to Cardozo. So it's been weighing on him, but he finally got it done. And good job for them.
And from the beginning, they were right on top of the rail splitters.
Absolutely. Basically it was they had to lean on their stars. I mean, Shamari Pons, who's going to St. John's, Rasheem Dunn, the guard, who's going to St. Francis, a great get for Glenn Breaker, the coach over there. They had to be the stars today and that day. And Pollard said, if we get those 2 guys, the other guys would follow. I mean, Pons had 31 points, 12 rebounds, 6 steals, 5 assists in front of St. John's coach Chris Mullen. That's a good day.
And Breaker was there also.
Absolutely, because Dunn had 23 points, and they were both named co-MVPs, Pons and Dunn. And they got their other guys, too, Malachi Faison and those guys.
And at the press conference, the coach also said these guys, Dunn and Pons, also their relationship dates back to elementary school.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Shamari, and he said that they met in the 1st grade. They were classmates, and they developed a friendship ever since then, and they both came to Jefferson together. They won the city championships as a junior varsity, but the last few years they've been trying to get this title, and, the friendship is real deep, and they came out and had their best game of the year, and what a time to have it.
And next year, one will be at St. John's, the other will be right down the street here at St. Francis.
Chris Mullen, the coach over there, would love to have Shamar Pons, and he did. He was there the other night. And St. Francis getting a heck of a player done who could defend, rebound, score, tough, fearless kid.
And for Coach Pollard, this has to be really, really, I guess, a rewarding experience for him and to finally achieving something that he's been fighting to get ever since he brought this program into being, right? A few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, he said that 12 years ago, I think he came in and said, we're basically rebuilding the program back. And he's had to do a lot of the hard work. There's been times where he's had lean years. There's times where he's gotten close. A few years ago, got to the Garden, lost to Lincoln and boys and girls, but he still kept fighting, kept fighting through it. And 62 years is a long time for people to say, can you finally win one? Can you finally win one? And he finally did.
You also got to give Coach Morton some credit. I mean, this is his first year back after being at Seton Hall last year and coming back and taking his team to the championship.
Right. I mean, Lincoln, started the year off a little slow, but by January he got them rolling. He got that team real cohesive unit. And, Kaheem Brown had a heck of a year for him. He was from Coney Island. He came over from St. Raymond. Guys like Don Cannon Flores and guys like Bourne and stuff like that. They made a real big difference. And Rakeem Felder also made a big difference. He's going to South Carolina. He just committed. So you got that team to the final. They played great.
Also, girls championship, Brooklyn defeated, South Shore defeated St. Francis Lewis.
Right. I mean, South Shore's 2nd year in a row they won the girls' title. And, this is a real talented group Coach Anwar Gladden had. It's a young group. Last year he had Brianna Frazier, the McDonald's All-American, leading a senior-laden group. This year was basically he had the deepest team in the PSAL, and he did a heck of a job.
So you think they're taking over where Murray Bertram left off years ago, when Murray Bertram was dominating like for a decade or so, 20 years maybe, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, they won 15 straight championships at one point, Bertram, and South Shore is one of those teams that fell to them at the final, and now it looks like Coach Anwar Gladden has a team the next few years. A lot of them are young. I mean, the Falox sisters, Destiny and Selena, they both had big games. They're junior and sophomore respectively. You have other players who are freshmen, whatever, and he's got a group which we could say, we're not going to say a dynasty, but he's a team that arguably could be the favorite again next year.
He has a program.
He has a program, and he's been trying to build a program for years, and he's fallen short a few times, but now he's finally got that program to be the favorite for the next few years, most likely.
Where do you see Mary Bertram?
I see Bertram coming back next year. I mean, this year they're rebuilding a lot of young kids, but kids like Affinity Hammonds, Cinnamon Dockery, some Brooklyn girls as well. They're rebuilding that program, and I can see them as a factor next year.
Now let's move on to the Catholic side, where it was Xaverian taking on Bishop Lachlan. Xaverian won.
Absolutely, 59-56 is one of the greatest stories of the year. Coach Jack Alisi over there got 5 kids basically who played a lot of minutes. They weren't deep, they weren't big, they weren't tall, but they had such great chemistry. And to finally come together and beat some pretty good teams along the way. They beat Archbishop Malloy, who was higher ranked than them, and then Bishop Lachlan had a lot of talent in the final at 4.
They were basically fundamentally sound. I mean, Coach has been there, at least has been there for years,
yes,
so he knows how to put the pieces and the puzzles and put it all together.
Absolutely. I mean, he won the title in 2005. Last year, he got to the final with a different group, a senior group as well. But this year, it's one of his best jobs he's ever done. And he's such a respected coach because he can make the pieces fit. He can get the best out of his players. And guys like Niante Wise, who was dominant in the playoff run. Guys like Cleo Rhodes and Brandon Leftwich and Zach Bruno, those guys came together and really became a unit.
Now, also in Brooklyn, the PSAL in the single A division, Telecom won.
Yeah, Telecom won, and they're going to go to the New York State Federation tournament. It's coming this weekend.
Speaking of that, you're heading up there tomorrow, right?
Yeah, packing my bags and, oh boy.
Heading to Albany.
It's going to be a long weekend.
Nice Albany. I heard it's a hot town.
So hopefully the weather will be nice as well. Sometimes it was cold last year and snowing, so hopefully it'll be better. Yeah, a lot of our teams are going up. Xaverian will be in the AA semifinals. Also, Thomas Jefferson will face Long Island Lutheran in a really good AA semifinal as well. If they win those games, Jefferson and Xaverian, we could have an all-Brooklyn final in the AA.
That'll be the first time we had one in quite some time.
Yeah, just like we had quite some time in the Catholic League. I don't think I remember the last time an all-Brooklyn final happened there, so it could be something up there.
If Jefferson gets to the championship round and they take on Xaverian, do you see Jefferson winning? I
could see Xaverian winning it. I mean, you can't doubt what Xaverian has done all year, but Jefferson is greedy. What is it? He said at the press conference.
He wants it all.
He said he wants it all. He says, I just don't want the PSAL championship. He likes practicing with these guys, and he wants to stay with these guys 1 week. He wants to win it. He's greedy. He wants to win another title and make history. It'd be a great way to finish it off.
Also, we got to talk about my man, KP, Brett Lowe.
Great job, KP.
Is this sort of he can sit back and say, you know what, I won another championship.
It's a rewarding experience.
Without being at Lincoln High School. Right.
It's a rewarding experience for Kenny to come
Is it
over.
A revenge also a little bit, you think?
It's a little bit. I mean, the news over the years, this past year was the division between KP and Tiny Morton, but KP was embraced by Bud Pollard and the coaching staff. He came over. He's done a lot to help that team out, and it was rewarding for him to see him happy there on the garden floor.
Now, tomorrow, NCAAs also take place over here at the Barclays Center. Seton Hall is in it. I don't think they're playing over here tomorrow, but you have Isaiah Whitehead from Lincoln High School, who graduated a couple of years ago, and also Rodriguez.
Desiree Rodriguez. Kadeen Carrington, who played at Bishop Lachlan. That group has gotten Seton Hall back on the map. Last year, they were struggling. They didn't make the NCAAs. This year, they win the Big East tournament. In fact, they won the Big East tournament the same night as the Garden. So Isaiah Whitehead has played himself into almost a first-round pick.
Do you think he will go into the draft this year, or should he wait another year? I mean, he's having such a great year.
He's having a great year. I think he's still learning how to play a point guard, and I think in the NBA, he's going to have to be a point guard, and he's still learning that. But the strides he's made has been tremendous. I think if he gets another year, he could play himself into a top 10 pick, maybe even top 5. The way he's been playing. I mean, that team is such a good, tight unit right now. They can make a deep run. Could Dean Carrington
You think they'll make a deep run this year?
I think they can make it. Listen, this is a wide open year in the NCAAs. I mean, number ones have gone down.
You got Stony Brook also?
Stony Brook, first time they've been in the tournament, fantastic. Iona, good job. Tim Clues is throwing up there. A couple local kids. It's a wide open tournament. I see a lot of good things happening for Seton Hall. I can see it going far.
Elio, always a pleasure to have you on.
Good to see you, man.
The hardest working man in sports journalism. Thank you for coming up.